is like my night. All right. So I am so excited as usual for tonight's lesson. Yeah, you guys made it. So welcome, welcome. I know those of you who are either watching the recording or you're tuning in live. It's hard to prioritize these, and we're going to go over that today. So if you are tuning in with me live, I really appreciate it. I know 8 p.m. on a Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern on a Sunday, wherever you may be at, is not always the most convenient timing. But I promise to make it as concise as possible so I don't keep you guys here any longer than you have to be. And yeah, so keep that chat going. If you have any questions about today, if I say something that pisses you off, feel free, say it, answer in the chat, because it's important. It's the basis of what we're doing here is to really discuss and analyze what we don't like, what's not working, what we're pissed off. You know me, I'm never frightened by those kinds of reactions. So if today something rubs you the wrong way, I'm going to encourage you guys to say it in the chat, because I'm going to want to address it. That being said, if we have a ton of comments and we reach the end, and I'm not able to get to all of them, please send it to me privately through text so that I can still address that. Okay. You know me, I usually give over disclaimers when I have any remotely tough love topic that I'm doing, because it's just not in my nature to do that. So chances are this might be exactly what you guys are needing, or you might agree and feel like, well, that was a good refresher, or you might get, annoyed. So whatever the case may be, it's important to dive into that. So definitely don't hold it in. Okay. So today we're going to talk about self-accountability. And I want to make it clear that in no way does today mean that if you don't hold yourself accountable for something, that it's not because there isn't a super stress behind it, or that it's not difficult to do that, right? Like if it's not in our nature to have that self-accountability and we feel like we're failing at it, like I don't want you to think that that's what's going on here. This is going to be kind of how to have a little checkup from the neck up with yourself. Okay. Because accountability is a really fickle thing. I don't believe that accountability from other people works. I think, sure, like you could be more focused on something so that you don't screw up or you don't disappoint someone, or you might be sure if you have a boss, you're going to be held more accountable than doing stuff at home for fun, right? Like there's that figure there. But short of it being needed to pay for your bills and your livelihood, it is really hard to be held accountable by somebody else for something that is optional. And even though in our best days, tell me if you guys agree with this, on our best days, we know that our health is not optional, our health is mandatory, but that's only on our best days, right? The days that we're running around like crazy, or we're feeling guilty, or we're feeling just behind the eight ball, on those days, things kind of falter, right? We all have different intentions when things are going well and when it's easy. So how do we hold ourselves accountable if we're not thinking like, if someone's not holding me accountable, how am I going to stick to this? Well, then guess what? That is the point that needs to be strengthened. So we're humans. And when we're human, we're going to not always be the most ideal, productive, efficient person in the entire world. We're just going to be doing the best we can. And where that might be enough if we hear a close friend of ours, or our kid, or our partner, or somebody else we care about is trying their best, it never quite cuts it for us. So if that's the case, if somebody else holding you accountable doesn't work, and you don't hold yourself accountable and put yourself first on the days that are hard, who's going to do it? We're screwed, right? What power, or what are we leaving out in the ether for it to control us and tell us how to do what we got to do? Nothing. We're in charge of ourselves. But that gets so freaking overwhelming that first thing to go out the window is anything optional. And nobody else ever knows that we're suffering. If we put ourselves last and suffer one more day in silence, like what's the big deal? It's better than what could happen if I don't do that. So not only that, how many times have you guys gotten annoyed at the person holding you accountable? Just naturally, they could have been completely right on the money. You could have been completely, out of your mind and like, but how many times have you guys in the past, has anybody else gone through that where someone holds you accountable, even if you've asked them to hold you accountable in that way? And when they bring it up, it's like, well, I was really busy this week. Like I just had a crazy week. I mean, like I can't help it that I have to do like this, like you don't even understand what it's like. Like, don't even tell me, oh, it must be easy for you. So, it's hard because do we want to be held accountable by somebody else? Or do we want to be perfect at something so that we never feel badly about it? And that's not reality. So I should do where you guys got to watch these Zooms with a water bottle. And every time I drink, you guys got to drink. We should do that from now on. Everyone always says, they're like, you drink so much water during these Zooms. I'm like, yeah, I talk loud and a lot. So, example, I can say till I am blue in the face, I want you guys to watch the Zoom. I want you to watch the Zoom. I want you to place your nutrition order. It is probably, if you replace the stuff you've been getting, it is probably a couple dollars difference at this point with inflation. Like, oh crap, I hope my computer doesn't die. Oh no, please hold. My computer doesn't retain battery worth a damn. Hold on. Yeah, I'm just gonna climb all over here and not take it off camera. You guys can see the real behind the scenes glory. Don't mind me. Oh God, there's like 75 extension cords. If this house goes up, oh, there goes my ring light, right? If this house goes up in flames, no, it'll be from all of the extension cords. Oh, what? I should have like background music or something that automatically turns on during these interludes. Okay, so why are you, officer? Holy crap. Okay, and we're back for the most part. No battery dying today. So I can say till I'm blue in the face. You guys, I want you to watch the Zooms. I don't want you to miss out on something that is a very vital component of what we're doing. And at the end of the day, if you guys have a lot going on, how many times have you stopped answering? Oh, sorry, I forgot I got busy. It's okay. I'm not offended. I'm just a realistic human being. And that if we're feeling overwhelmed and it's not accountability that we're wanting. When someone's upset at me because, they had the week from hell, but then they didn't know what to eat and they feel like they did it all wrong and they're wasting all their time doing this and they feel like they're falling behind, they'll direct that outwards. But then I'll say, why didn't you text me? And they'll be like, well, I was really busy, blah, blah, blah. So it's not accountability. I want you guys to all adopt the troubleshooting mindset. The troubleshooting mindset is only focused on what is not working and changing that to just try, edit what it needs to and try again until you figure it out, until you troubleshoot it and you figure out the problem. That is the whole reason. That's why it took me years to get results. It took me, like I always say that, my clients surpass me in the time that they see visible results all the time. And some of my clients are right in the same boat as me, stubborn as hell with weight loss, takes forever, last symptom. But at the end of the day, we have to be on top of how that affects us. And if we're the type to sabotage and we're the type to say, well, if this isn't going to work, screw it. It is even more important to be vocalizing that to people who know that that is also what's going to screw you. Like you're both in agreement. This is what will screw me over. It's important to voice that to that person because they can't jump in and rescue you out of that. Defensiveness will stop that. Ego will stop that. It's normal. So, and I wrote here, I guess I was a little salty about this. I was like, I get snapped at. Like if I message somebody something, I'm like, am I going to see you on the Zoom? And then they don't answer me. And then I text them and I'm like, did you get to see the Zoom? They're like, no, I was busy. I was doing blah, 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 blah. But I'll text them if they saw the Zoom like a week later. And I get everybody, like there are some people on here, honestly, who are busier than others. Like some of y'all's schedules are a nightmare, right? But I know you logged on to social media once this week. Why am I the bad guy for saying it should be priority with this instead of social media? You know, that's why accountability fails us from other people. We have to work systems in for ourselves and know when this happens, I tend to do this. So we can kind of circumvent and counteract what will screw us. Does that make sense? So before I move on and kind of break down different ways to for that self accountability within this program and baby steps and stuff like that, I want to know your thoughts. Hearing this first half here, that accountability is bullshit, basically, that the only accountability that there is in education and voicing what's not working, getting that feedback, trying it again a different way, and working together to keep it going versus thinking accountability is the name of the game. What are you guys hearing that? Like, what does that mean to you? How do you connect with that message? This is the number one thing people say they need. And when I press them to tell me why, they forget all about their human nature. Tell me in the chat, how do you connect with this message so far? It is so bright for such a dark area right now. Tell me in the chat. I think anyone can push you, but until you push yourself, it's just words. Yeah, it's temporary. It takes two to connect and make it happen. That it's a daily practice of checking yourself and reminding yourself of priorities. Oh my God, the best. The best is when I have a client that had a busy week and they're like, survival mode, like I was just in survival mode. And I'm like, no, you weren't. They're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, survival mode is literally like working on your health because you need to take care of yourself, like doing the absolute bare minimum, like breathing and plugging along while you take care of everybody else is not survival mode. That's arguably like damage mode, right? Like, so why do we keep putting ourselves in this position to have to like be at a worse place than when we started, when the situation isn't within our control? So if we don't learn how to work around that, then what? Our success and our consistency is only dependent on the smoothness of the environment around us and the amount of leisure we have. That's not reality. Don't look for the bottom of the pile. That's my favorite thing. Yeah, I have to remind myself of that, especially in this house, because there is always something more I want to do or take care of or get done. We're just surrounded by projects, right? So I keep reminding myself there is no bottom of the pile. It's just about continuing to work each day, little by little, doing the things we'll have to do anyway at the best of our ability. So if we're like, well, let me get this done for that person first, and then I can focus on me, we're literally looking for the bottom of the pile before we can what? Take care of our health, where our health doesn't give a rat's ass about what size of pile we got. Like that illness is there no matter what. Good day, bad day, on a cruise, in a meeting. It is always there. Knowing how to handle that in those different areas, those different spaces takes time. And if we don't hold ourselves accountable to get that done and learn that and be great and be patient with ourselves and give ourselves grace as we learn that, we're not going to get there. It's not up to anybody else to hold us accountable for that. They can't. It is useless. So let's see. I think anyone can, oh, yep, it takes two to connect and make it happen. Yep, 100%. Definitely starts with yourself. It's nice to get reminders from others, though. At times it feels annoying to hear it from someone else, but we definitely have to make the change with ourselves. Yeah. Have to remind myself that accountability doesn't mean perfection. Yes, it means better choices and being human. Without that, I get obsessive, one choice at a time. We all do, because none of us are perfect. We're here for how many, God willing, like how many decades we got left on this earth. Why are we wasting time feeling so stressed and mad at ourselves that we don't just know how to do it yet? it doesn't change that fact, being upset about it. It just holds us back from taking the information from it and improving it. Motivation doesn't last, neither does brushing our teeth. That's why we practice it daily. Yeah, I love that. We have to learn to make focusing on ourselves and our health our default. So when things get super busy, survival mode can stay in the forefront. Right. Survival mode should be the most gentle, loving care you can take of yourself. It should be taking things off your plate, not like taking good things off your plate that are going to help you feel better to say, oh, I need more room on my plate. I'm too overloaded. It's taking off the other shit that's taking away from your health. That's always got to be on the plate. So exactly. I definitely need to work on giving myself grace. Yeah, we are all learning. We're all learning. It is okay. And we're all always learning to some degree. We should want to know a better way to do something we've done. So even if you do get to a point of feeling great, there's always room to learn more hacks. How do you think I have all the suggestions to give you guys? I'm just always trying to think, how can I make it easier? How can I make it more convenient? How can I use this? How can I not waste this? Like, how many gluten-free shitty dessert snacks I've bought that I've turned into breadcrumbs for something? That comes from having a lot of shitty mistakes, right? And a lot of like bad things I bought that I shouldn't have and everything. And hey, that's how some of my best recipes have been found, right? You just got to roll with those punches like that, which having OCD, it's not easy. Again, it's an oversimplified conversation meant to encourage solo dialogue. So I want to break this down because it's important to understand what changes we're responsible to make, the lessons we're responsible to learn, and it not and it not be about me being a dick, not giving you the key to weight loss, right? So let's see. The difference between successful people and people who are unsuccessful are the people who take the information and try to learn and troubleshoot it, right? It's just perseverance and being analytical. That's all. So if I were to break down the process of how to do this in CCA, like if we're just shake the Etch-a-Sketch, forget all the shit we've done. I'm just going to break it down real simple. And it's probably going to sound way simpler than what you've thought it's been, even if you've been with me for a while, right? But tell me it's not all that it is. Schedule in the weekly Zoom, either live or pick a designated watch window. Do not leave it for if I have time. I'll get to it this week. That is the same priority you're putting in your results. That's the same priority you're putting in that information on that Zoom. Like that's how important you're viewing that information on there. Meanwhile, if you're feeling like shit and you're like, why isn't this changing faster? But you're leaving a 45-minute lesson once a week, for if I have time, that's a choice, so making sure that if you don't make it live, you still have that designated window. And people might be watching this and be like, well, I got kids, I have this, I have that. Totally fine. Again, troubleshooting mindset. Find a way to make it work, because what is the alternative? You never get better because you can never find 45 minutes of time for yourself. Doesn't have to be all at once, but whether yours has to be, I had another client, I told him, like, every time you go to the bathroom in the morning, pop on the freaking Zoom, because the momentum of it is going to be that you're just going to keep listening to it. But you go to the bathroom every morning, right? Like just find a way to make it work for you. It doesn't mean that that your situation is so easygoing that it should allow for it. It means that regardless, it needs to be sorted and figured out for you to get the value that you need. So you can't care part-time and expect life-changing results. I love reading these notes back. I get really into it as I write them. Screwing yourself out of trying is not the same as it's not working for me. How many times have you guys done a checkup from the neck up, like a couple months after ditching a diet or something, and you're like, well, I knew at the time I thought I was doing well, but like I really didn't need to go out to dinner every single night. But at the time it was like, this isn't working. We've all been there. We've all been there. I'm not saying often. I could do that and still be at like freaking 500 calories struggling with my weight back in the day. But it's happened, right? That later on, that justification of like, maybe I could have done that different, So instead of feeling like, oh, damn, next time, write it down. How could you have done it different? If you feel you could have done it different, there's information to be had there, right? So schedule in the Zooms. Text us if you need help to do that. Make sure a month's worth of your sessions are booked out with your coaches ahead of time. You don't have to book out months in a row, but like that month, you should make sure you shouldn't wait for the week of to book the next week's appointment or that week's appointment. The odds of you getting a slot that really works best for you are probably a lot slimmer. And we're human. We'll forget. You'll think you booked it, and then 3 weeks will go by, and we're not, with all of the clients we have, we try to remind you guys like, hey, make sure your calls are booked. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to miss 2 weeks in the meantime where you've literally just missed out on a session that you paid for. So make sure your calls, at the very least, your sessions are booked with your coaches ahead of time on Calendly. If you're a newbie, tell us and we'll help you get set up. All right. So make sure that is booked at the very least. Those sessions are super important. Okay. This is a big one, guys. Text us when you fall off, when you're falling off, when you feel like you're not doing it right, when you've eaten something you feel terrible about, when you have a question, when you're stressed, when you're upset, when you want to pick a brain, when you want a recipe. Literally, I wrote this in all caps. Literally, do you understand the luxury you have access to? Because my business mentor, when I started with him, I was his first client. Since I have started working with him, he now is like closing in on like $1 million a month. It's insane. It's insane. But needless to say, he has a ton of clients who are coaches. I am in the community page with those coaches. And I'm not saying this to toot my own horn, because those of you who have been with me for years knows that I've followed this format very closely since I started this whole thing, right? None of them get personal time. None of them have ever gotten personal time. None of them get a phone number to text. If they do, they never get an answer back. Not 3 days because they've been backed up, never. Or they're put into a bot kind of system where a machine type of thing answers, and then that's it. It's very hard for us to continue offering this to you guys, especially with how many clients, I'm grateful, but how many clients we've brought on. So when we tell you, text us in those moments, it is not just us being, really altruistic. It is literally a component of this program to be able to troubleshoot with you as much as possible during this program. And when I tell you, again, not tooting my own horn, because I'm not saying this shit's cheap, right? Like, it's an investment. But the amount that some of these coaches are charging for the time frame that they give people, like a 3-month program, and they have barely any communication available. I don't ever want that program. Truth be told, I wish that, didn't even have to charge for what I do. I love what we do with you guys. But that being said, don't feel bad reaching out to us. You're not a burden. We're never going to look and be like, oh God, this bitch again. Like, what does she want? She should just they should just know how to do it. Like, God, never, ever, ever. I would venture to say that now you guys know that I hire only clients can become coaches, right? Every coach I got right now has been like very, very, I've talked with them personally when they were a client throughout. They're the needy ones, right? The needy ones do the best because they're getting that undivided attention. They're getting that response, and it's giving us a glimpse into what you're dealing with every day. It's giving us a glimpse into, okay, what baby step doesn't work? Why? Is it scheduling? Is it mindset? Is it the refrigeration at work? Is it a palate issue? Like, what is the problem? Because whether it's in this program or any program, what is stopping that baby step from being effective or consistent, that is the thing we need to learn. And we can't learn that unless you communicate with us what you're struggling with. Does that make anybody feel better about texting us? Does it take some of the edge off? Because I know it can be really stressful to think like that. Because like, when the hell has it been like, what am I just going to message someone and be like, hey, I'm having some issues? Like, it can be scary, but like, we love it because then we can say, okay, like, let's see where we can get in here and really like tweak this. If it's not working, it's not that you're not doing well. It's not that you just have to try harder. I know every doctor's told you that. It's bullshit. I want to know what we can do better, because there's always another way to tweak it better if it's not working. It's not about just gritting and bearing it. Not here, at least. So, and it's not just like, I'm only going to text one person. I'm only going to text Michelle, or I'm only going to text this person. You have access to a whole community, and you have access to me as well as the other coaches. So, and again, we all are aware of like how urgent stuff can be, how shitty this can feel, how stressful, discouraging, whatever it is. So what you're struggling with, people are actually, they're very excited to be able to help. All of you are great at helping each other. So if you for some reason cannot reach me or the other coaches, you also have the community. Nobody will look at you like, they'll probably be like glad you reached out for support, and it might inspire other people to do the same more. So I don't think this is going bad so far, right? I was like, I hope I don't piss anyone off, but it's the people pleaser in me. So I'm always just a little afraid I'm going to piss someone off. I don't care as much anymore. It's the difference, but I'm always a little worried at first. So, okay. Number 4, we got 2 more here. Number 4, stop having expectations. Now, I know that sounds crazy, right? But here's what I mean. When people come into this program, sorry, I have to adjust my back because, well, I got a lot of people saying they loved couch time. My spine doesn't. So, okay, that's better. So now, expectations. If you've had a situation before that has been similar, it's important to bring that up because it'll give us a better understanding of hesitations you might have, holdbacks you might have, but it also gives us the opportunity to explain why we are doing it and what's different about it, if there is a difference. If something just hasn't straight up worked, we want to know, if you had a reaction to something, we want to know. But if it's just an expectation because you had a shitty experience before with some other coach, with some other program, and you don't think it's the right thing, and you just don't want to give us the opportunity to explain why it's a part of the program or why we're suggesting it, then that's deciding you know better. And I'm not egotistical to sit here and say, like, you don't know. I think I was that patient who would spend hours and hours obsessively researching. Now my foot's cramping. Hours and hours obsessively researching, how do I, this thing, that thing, this symptom, that food, this seed, this oil. I was that client. So I don't think anybody here is not well versed, but here's the part that I don't like being honest about, but let's be real, okay? Utilize this program as it's intended, because this program has been around for a lot, and this program never makes a promise and says you're going to lose this much weight, your hair is going to grow this much. What we do promise is, until if you're still into figuring it out, we don't give up until we try to figure out what the hell's going on. We don't know everything, but we are determined to try and figure it out. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with the show House. I loved that show. And I loved it because it was so amazing to me how unrealistic it was. They're going to send an ER nurse to a house to go check for mold, or like go test if there's like lead paint, or hey, their family history, her great grandmother had this one thing. Nobody does that shit. Nobody cares that much. Like, unless I don't even think Mayo Clinic does that shit, like it is totally for Hollywood entertainment value. But I remember thinking every time I left a doctor's office feeling completely like, what a waste of time. Like, why even look forward to these things anymore? Like, why even think I'm going to get answers? I always thought about House. And the fact that they're investigative. When something wasn't what they originally thought, they kept looking. That is how I wanted to always make this program. So to have those expectations, it stops the process that I can understand 100% the nerves of feeling like it's not going to work. And the history will give you that proof, but it's not proof. It's just screwing you over. So, and it's hard for me to say that and be like, no offense, you don't know as much about this process, about CCA. Always love questions, always support questions, want you to ask questions. I'm a nerd and I love explaining the science behind it, but already predetermining that shiny new object, some new account on Instagram said, go do this. I should count calories. I should do that. I should do this. And not allowing, having expectations that what we're doing is not enough is kind of reinventing the wheel. And it's not how the program's intended. So at the end, you might not get what you came into this wanting, which is what we've known how to do for years now. So I hope you don't take that as egotistical, like we know more, shut up and do it. Not at all. Ask questions, but don't close off things because of a predetermined expectation of it. It's only going to hurt what could be a different way for it to work this time. Okay. So yeah, I wrote here, there is no time frame for any of this shit to happen, but it's basically the only time frame we want is ASAP, because we're miserable and we're staring at it in the mirror and we're feeling it in our pants and all that stuff. Like we want it gone, but that urgency doesn't change reality. So having these expectations and feeling like, well, I don't think that's going to work, screw it, is literally just wasting time. Okay, this is the last one, probably my favorite point. This program is intended to fit whatever lifestyle you have. I mentioned that in a few points before. It's to teach you how to care for yourself at every point that you're at. If you have to work 16-hour days, I'm just going to say you should literally find a new job. It's the bad thing nobody wants to hear, but you know, healthy people can't work 16-hour days forever and expect it to be okay. We're going to have our sensitive ass autoimmune and hormonal bodies, inflammatory prone bodies. We're going to think that we're going to demand that of ourselves and all is going to be okay. No, it doesn't mean just quit your job because screw it. What bills? I don't have them. No, it's not realistic. But it doesn't mean that, it does mean that there's something has to give. Something. Otherwise, the something that's got to give is going to be not what you want. You're going to get stopped rather than stopping. You know, so if that's you, text me privately so we can talk some kind of crash plan to help, because that will end up, I mean, maybe that is the crash plan, right? That will end up not being what you want it to be. You're not going to be able to go on like that forever. That being said, if that's the situation you're in, it's reality. You can't just up and leave, right? You need to know how to be able to manage this in the interim. You know, there's no amount of, I guess you can sum the whole call up in this point, right? But just to drill it home, your illness doesn't give a shit what you got going on. It doesn't care if you had no time this week. It doesn't care if you felt crappy this week. It doesn't care. It's always there, and it will make what you're dealing with harder. So it's the investment philosophy. We hate investing money when it comes time to invest that money, right? Like, let's say you're investing in like, I don't like the stocks, but like you're investing in something financially, a restaurant or whatever. Nobody likes when that's initially happening. It's terrifying. You don't know if it's going to pan out. You know, you're hopeful, you really want it to work and stuff, but you just don't know. But everybody loves the investing when it pans out. You know, when people were getting yelled at, I mean, I said I don't like stocks, but it's different. But back in the day, people were getting yelled at. You spent what on some fruit company? People who bought Apple stocks, really, they probably were freaking out in the beginning. But then when that investment panned out, they were sure glad they did it. It's the same with anything we invest in: our time, our hope, our excitement, our effort, whatever we invest our time in. It sucks in the moment that you're investing it, but when you get that return, that's when you're going to be glad you did it. So, you know, if you can figure out how to invest the little time you can while in this program, to text with us, because I know you're going to go on your phone at some point this week. You're going to log into Facebook or Instagram. Most of you found me on social media. Most of you will respond to my stories before you respond to my texts. It's okay. I still love you. I do the same. So, but, you know, if you can put in that minimal investment of your time in finding a way to make it fit in the craziness, the craziest of crazy, then think about how much easier a time you'll have when things are not as crazy. But to wait until they calm down to learn how to do that, it's not going to stick the same. Because everything that you learn in the moment, on the go, it sinks in more, right? It just becomes more tangible. So it's not going to sink in as much. You're not going to feel the urgency of learning that lesson because, you know, that's in case it gets crazy again. Right now it's smooth. It's a whole different vibe. So especially when shit's going downhill, especially when shit's crazy, even if you send us a damn emoji, we'll know you're not just sending us an emoji for just no reason, right? So we'll help you out, but we're here to learn, not follow a protocol and hope that shit's cool enough for it to stick. Okay? So let me see these comments. I told you guys I was going to try not to keep you here too late today. We're right at 8:37. Okay, we're getting closer to that half hour mark, but I wanted to make sure that I really just drilled it home for you guys that we are here to help as much as you will allow us to. But there is that level of keeping it in your forefront of your mind to stay on top of the Zooms, to text with us, to, watch these, like whatever it is, that part we can't do. So let's see. I'm always the one who is afraid of being annoying. You are never annoying remotely, like at all, Beth. Never, ever, ever. No one is, but especially not you. You're never like, oh my God, like drop everything right now. No one is, but especially not you. You're right. I always don't want to feel like a bother. No, 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 no. I love knowing exactly what kind of results I can try and help somebody get. And like I said, I love that house, Dr. House, because there's like a puzzle component to it. I've always been a problem solver. I've always worked backwards. I've reverse engineered. That's how my brain works. It's how I figured out the majority of things in my life that I figured out that I couldn't learn traditionally, so I love when I have that extra insight because I may have encountered something in the past that you don't know about, but maybe that reminds me of a situation where I figured it out that it was this, or the person thought it was this and they went to the doctor and found out it was this other thing. Those situations can't come up and become relevant unless we're knowing what's going on. So I actually get excited when clients keep us in the loop in between. You can even just do it in a group chat with all the coaches and me or whatever, just to see who can get to you first. But when we know more, we can really hack more. And that's exciting to me and to the coaches. We love that. So absolutely opposite of a bother. No shame in texting all of y'all anytime. You teach me so much about downtime and muting the phone. I have no doubt you are pros and won't bother anyone. Yeah, everybody. And I always say, like, I turn the notifications off on my phone just because with my OCD and my ADHD, seeing them popping up, I won't be able to get to anybody correctly, or I just won't be able to book that time in that I need to focus between calls and stuff. So I turn my notifications off so then I can decide when to go into my inbox and chisel away in the order in which I'm getting them. So, all right. I always wish Dr. House could figure out all my problems. Me too. I hated when I was being tested for the rheumatoid arthritis and the scleroderma and stuff. And the joke I would always say in the office is like, it's never lupus. And no doctor ever knew what the joke was from. They thought I was an asshole making a lupus joke. I'm like, it's from House. And you'd be like, how don't you know that show? I don't know. And I'm young as hell compared to them. But yeah. Michelle tells me to find a new job all the time. That is very true. I really do. And has helped me make my crash plan. Yeah. And none of it ever means that you have to be out right away, that you have to be irresponsible or whatever. It's just that it needs to be something that's a priority at some point because you just can't go forever that way. Healthy people can't. Healthy people would end up in our boat continuing to work those hours forever. And we're not usually used to prioritizing ourselves. And we're usually pretty, we're go-getters. We have a high standard. That's why this stuff bothers us. If we were low achieving people, I'm laughing out loud at some asshole making a lupus joke. They literally looked at me like, what's wrong with this person? But yeah, sorry. I saw that comment and got so, the reactions, what came to mind. What was I saying right before that? Oh yeah, if we didn't give a shit about we were low achieving, lazy, lacking productivity, all the things we kind of say to ourselves and accuse ourselves of being, right? If that was actually how we are, we'd have pretty low standards. We probably wouldn't give a shit that much. So you guys, you wouldn't want to fix it. You wouldn't want to do things, right? Because you're used to just laying around. You have no drive and determination. What do you care if you're sleepy that day? But that's not the case. It drives us crazy that we can't fix these things because we're actually high achieving people that have illnesses that keep us from doing our full potential. So of course we're not going to prioritize ourselves naturally. And if we have a job that we're good at and we like getting things done for people, we're maybe a little bit of people pleasers deep down, that praise, that feeling of if there's only one thing I'm good at least it's my job, that really can make us just keep working, working, working until we hit that wall. And it will happen with these issues. So, all right. I hope that this was, valuable. I hope this was thought provoking. I would love to carry on these conversations in private. Again, anybody who wants to set up like a coaches chat with me, the coaches, whatever, one-stop shop, you're welcome to do that. Just do it on WhatsApp. And then, yeah, I'm here. Don't be afraid to reach out. All right. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. I'm going to turn this light off before I go blind. Okay. Bye.